Hi and welcome. My name is Klas Harlin. I'm a senior sales engineer here in Tacton. And today I'm going to show you two things. First, I'm going to show you how you can work efficiently in your engineering processes with our tools in your CAD software that we call Design Automation. Then I'm actually going to show you how you can leverage that investment by uploading it to our Tacton CPQ, our platform for configuration, pricing and quoting. So what I have here on my screen is a regular SOLIDWORKS assembly that most of you are familiar with. This is a cart for a medical company, and the only thing that is special with this SOLIDWORKS assembly is that we have prepared a product logic for this. So for instance, here to the right, I have an add-in where I've defined my logic for this. It's called the Tacton Design Automation Studio. We can see here that I have a top part that is mapped to the assembly. I have a cart that is mapped to this cart part. And as an example, the cart height here, a Tacton attribute, is connected to a dimension within the SOLIDWORKS model. I would like to focus a little bit more on the usage end of this, how it would look for the users of this. So I will hit this button, Start Engineer. And that will give me the user interface. And that's our other add-in to SOLIDWORKS, the Tacton Design Automation Engineer. So now I have a configuration user interface in this. And you might be familiar with the Tacton configurator that we have a very advanced configurator that can help you answer only the question that you're interested in. So what I will start with is a little bit about the usage of this. And I will set the country of usage here to Italy, of course. What you can see here then is that the unit of measurement is then put into metrics. It doesn't have an implication right now on how the assembly looks, but it will have an implication later when I do drawings. I will continue on with this to the next step. The step is like a grouping of questions. And then I have more questions around how this cart will look. The first question here I want to focus around is a question around stability and mobility in this. It's set to normal cart stability now, but I will select it to be optimized for stability and mobility. What you can see happens then is that we add these handles and we replace the small wheels with bigger wheels. So now we're actually starting to update the CAD assembly. We can see here in the Update Manager what changes we have done to the CAD model since I started my configuration. That we have actually turned on the handles and we have replaced all the wheels with larger wheels. If I go into the details of the configuration of this cart, we can see that I can start doing some selections around the shelves in this. So this is for medical imaging cameras that you look in different parts of the body. And you might want to have some storage capacity for gloves and other things. So the top shelf here, I will select to have a shelf with a drawer. That's fine, now we replaced it with a shelf with a drawer. I want even more storage capacity, so I'll go to the next shelf and replace that also with a shelf with a drawer. What we can see then is that the Tacton logic actually figures out that we need to increase the total height of this. So I get a taller cart. If I wanted even more storage and place for more things, I can select to have a wider cart here. And you can see that I'm not going through these questions in any specific order because the configurator engine allows me to answer them in the order that matter most to me. And of course I could do a fun little thing like change the color. So we've seen a couple of examples of how the configurator will affect the assembly by replacing things, changing things parametrically, or changing material properties, or in this case a color property. I will now go in and show you how we can actually also generate drawings in this. So I will start by doing a more general drawing, that is a assembly cart drawing. And what Tacton does actually, it's that we have a template for this drawing, and the Tacton logic will help you position things like the annotations. Make sure that you have view scales that are suitable to the paper size. So here we see a more general with the dimensions so that you will know that this medical cart will fit through the door in the examination room example, for example. We have a second sheet with a simple bill of material on it and a couple of balloons. We can also generate, of course, more detailed drawings, and here we have a little detailed drawing for the top part. And it actually specifies where it's supposed to be drilled for placing this monitor. I can actually go back and put in another monitor. In the monitor configuration and select an option to have 2 monitors. And if I go back and update that drawing file, we get another drilling for the next monitor. Now we had a look on how you can work with design automation to work effectively in your everyday work. Avoid some of the repetitive tasks of things coming on and on. And make sure that we always produce a high quality, since we have a system making sure that the drawings always look nice and crisp. Now we'll go over and look how you could actually leverage this investment by uploading exactly this configuration file to the Tacton CPQ and make it available to other parts of your organization. So we'll head over to the Tacton CPQ. So the CPQ, in this scenario, I will be logged in as a sales representative, Patrick Morris. So you started in design automation and you have set up a configuration model there that you now can make available for sales representatives. It can also be used to make available even on your web page for external customers. It can integrate to an e-commerce solution, and you can also use the same configuration model in sales engineering tasks. But what we have here is the Tacton CPQ, and I prepared with an account, an opportunity, and the opportunity here is for a knee surgery ward at the hospital of here in Sweden. And to that opportunity of the knee surgery, we'll provide them with a solution. And to that solution, we will add our configurable products. And here we have a configuration model, exactly the same one as we used in design automation for the medical imaging equipment. So you see here that we have the same questions, but of course, since we are not in the SolidWorks environment, we have a bit more flexibility on how we make the look and feel of this, and we can alter the user interface quite a lot here. We have also 3 other parts that is possible to add to this. So we have visualization here, that will be a 3D visualization. Although note that this is not the CAD model running, so it's a visualization model to be able to run fast and snappy within your web browser. I also have the bill of material here, and this is like a sales bill of material that we have defined. And I also have a tab with pricing. That means that we can connect prices to these items here. As an example, we can see in the bill of material here, if I add electrical surgery to be included, we can see that we now have an update to the bill of material. And also in the pricing view, we'll add the part for the electrosurgery. And obviously that will have an effect on the total price of this cart. We can see here, if I go over to the usage tab, that the country of usage in this case is pre-filled for me. And that is because we have the Tacton CPQ platform. That means that we can actually have other things affecting the configuration model. So the country of usage here could be on the account level. And when we're talking about accounts and the other parts of Tacton CPQ, we have realized when we created the CPQ that this will be in an environment and in a process where we have system around us. If you don't have a CRM system to manage all your accounts, you can just add them to the Tacton CPQ. But if you have a CRM system, the philosophy is that we would integrate to that CRM system and take all the accounts for you to use. If I go to the technical configuration where we spent most of our time last time, I can go back and select this optimized stability and mobility. I guess that you recognize this from last time. And then we have the large wheels again and the handles. I also have the details in the cart configuration, of course, and still have the colors. But as you see in the user interface, we have quite a lot more flexibility in how we make the layout of this, making it easier for a sales representative to understand the different options in this. I'll go into the monitor configuration again, and I'll show you something quite interesting. If I turn on 2 monitors here, and then I select that monitor number 2, I want to have that one on the front right. We can see that in the options for monitor number 1, front left and front right is now grayed out. Well, that means that the configurator has actually figured out that there might be a conflict around this. We will have interference and they will actually collide. Let's try to select that option anyways. Well, it says that I can actually have monitor number 1 on the front left if I move the other monitor, monitor number 2, from the front right to the rear right. So actually, the configurator has figured out that I have selections that are in conflict with each other. But it also shows me a way how I can solve that conflict. So I can accept to move that monitor to the back end if I would like. So this aids you in the conversation between the sales representative and the end customer. What is most important here? But for now, let's just accept flipping the places of the monitors. What this medical company actually realized when they created this configuration model is that they also, at the same time they're offering the medical cards, they want to offer services around it. So they have a separate step here with questions around services. This is something that I do realize that from the beginning when you build your design automation model, or it's quite common actually that you realize this when you start exposing this to the sales representatives, and then add layers of configuration logic to that. So just as a little example of that, we can see in the expert services, we can say that we want to have some additional maintenance services in this, and have online machine monitoring and preventive maintenance in this. So I will finish that configuration and save and go out. Now I have on my solution a configured line item. If I go into that line item, I can look on the configured product here. I have a couple of tabs. What we are mostly interested in is of course the tab we call CAD Automation. I will press this button and start the generation. So actually what we've done is that we've taken this configuration model, made that available in the Tacton CPQ, and we have actually set up a server that will run SolidWorks. The good thing about this is that with only one SolidWorks license that you provide as the end customer, you can actually handle the questions and all the requests from your complete sales staff without them ever having to open SolidWorks. Of course, this will take a little while because it actually opens SolidWorks and generates all the files. But the good thing is I don't need to sit here and wait. I can continue working. So let's have a little look into the pricing. So here we see that we have all the line items, and in this setup for this medical company, they're working with global reference list prices, and then they have things like local list prices, and it can even be so that a specific customer based on the account has a certain frame agreement here on 2%. So the pricing can come from many different sources, and the price model is quite flexible. Actually, a feature that we recently released is that we now have the possibility to support subscription pricing. So if you're selling something that you want to divide the payment into different terms, like say, pay a certain amount in the first 6 months and then after 6 months another thing, we have support for that now in the pricing engine. I will go in and do some quick edits, and in this setup, being a sales representative, I'm allowed to set a little discount on each line item, like this, 5% here. Or I can go to the top level. It has calculated that 5% on that line item is a total discount of 0.22, but if I want 10% on the top, it will recalculate all the prices. As a sales representative here, I'm only allowed to set discount. The setup allows us for, if I log in as a sales manager, I can see much, much more and have other fields that I can edit. So let's save that one. And while I was working on the pricing, the CAD automation files are now ready. So what we see here is straight away, as a sales representative without opening CAD at all, I can see the drawings. Both the general arrangement drawing that we made earlier and the more detailed drawing in this case. I also have all the files here like 3D PDFs, steps. This will depend on settings. The files we produce here is essentially any files that SOLIDWORKS can save. So I have the drawings in PDF as well. All right, now we've done the C part of this. That is the configuration part of the CPQ. We've done the P part, that is the pricing. The only thing we have left to do is the Q part, that is the quote part, to do a proposal or a tender to a customer. So I'll go in and go to the tab on the solution level, one level up. That is the proposals. And I will create a new proposal. What I will do here is I will generate this document. And we can have a look on the document. So we have a dynamic created document. It takes into consideration a couple of different sources for the data, what account is created for, who in the organization has done this, me pretending to be a sales representative named Patrick Morris, some summary, some letter text, and then it will take into consideration different parts from the configuration. And here we have the line items and the pricing of all that. So it's a dynamic document that is created from the configuration. In this case, we use this document generation to create a proposal, but you can use the document generation to create a technical specification as well. Actually, what we can do in Tacton CPQ, it's an option that you can select to have, is to use Tacton CPQ to actually publish this proposal all the way to the end customer. And the nice thing here is that we can also include all the generated CAD documents. So I'll publish this proposal, and then the last thing I need to do is share it with the end customer. And I will select who from the customer contacts I will send these emails to. They will get an email, and they will actually get an email containing a link to this page. And here, the end customer would log in. He would see the proposal. You have all the generate CAD documents as a zip file. And actually, even the end customer can upload a specification if they want to change something in this and we want to do an iteration back. Or let's say in this scenario that the customer is very happy and will just accept it. So now we've done everything from configuration to pricing to quoting. What I can do now as a sales representative is I can continue on in the workflow here. I'm now in a design state of the process that we've set up. And the Tacton CPQ platform is actually very configurable. So if you in your company only have design and then order, we can set up those stages here. It should be stages that make sense in your business. Actually, all of the objects that we see in the Tacton CPQ can be configured with options, not programming. You don't need to be a programmer to manage what is shown where and to who. So I can say that this is ready for the next stage in my process. And these steps can also be used, for instance, in the end when I go to the order stage, we can use that to trigger so that we will send the complete configured bill of material to something like an ERP system. So what we see now in total is actually that we started in design automation and looked on how design automation can help you in your engineering work. What we see is when we publish this to the Tacton CPQ, we could actually help you transform your company so that you work with less engineer to order and do configure to order. So the configurator will handle the variance in your product so that you could offer what every customer wants. This will actually mean that since the sales representative can generate the drawings, at least the early drawings in the sales process, it will be less dependent on sales engineers. You can let your engineering resources focus on product development instead. And also, the end here is that we actually increase the responsiveness to the customers so that we're much faster when getting a quote. That can be a competitive edge for you.